This episode of Tekzilla is brought to you by Click It or Ticket. Diablo 3 is here, at least if the servers are still up. Here to tell us more about this eagerly anticipated point-and-click RPG, Rev3 Games, Mr. Max Scoville.
Hello, Patrick.
Welcome back, sir.
Thanks for having me. It's always fun.
Well, let's start, rather than starting with the early user trauma, let's talk about, like, why is it taking so long for Diablo 3 to come out? It's kind of funny, like, Diablo 2 Lord of Destruction expansion pack was released back in 2001. And why is this particular week Ancient Games Resurrected Week? Max Payne on Monday, Diablo 3 the day after.
It's a strange thing. I don't know what Blizzard. Oh, WoW. That's what they were doing. They were doing WoW.
World of Warcraft.
It's funny because the guys who made the original Diablo games, it's a lot of the different guys. Mm-hmm. Those guys went off and they're making Torchlight, which comes out the middle of next month. Torchlight 2, anyway. Mm-hmm. As for Diablo 3, it's different. It's a new thing. It's sort of new. There's some changes.
So you don't really have to be that familiar with Diablo 2 to enjoy this game.
No. It depends if you're going to. That doesn't mean you're going to enjoy it or not. I don't know what it. I feel like they've kind of streamlined it a little bit to be more modern, which, in 12 years is a thing you have to do with games.
It's not just the point and click mechanics anymore.
It's still a lot of pointing and clicking, but I feel like there's more of a faster turnaround between the pointing and the clicking and the reward,
Well, what's changed? Have there been new elements, new character classes, new cutscenes?
The cutscenes look like Pixar movies. They're gorgeous. They're absolutely beautiful. If you remember, like, in Diablo 2, I remember thinking, like, yeah, the graphics are whatever, but the cutscenes in that back in, 2000, those were impressive, and they've definitely kept up with that. They're very, very pretty. As for the graphics, some people are complaining about them, but I don't think that's ever really been. It's always been gameplay first,
right,
and story and visual second. There's a lot of weird kind of subtle changes. I think the biggest thing right off the bat is limited character customization.
Really?
You don't have a skill tree anymore exactly. Mm-hmm. It kind of assigns your skill points for you, and you unlock skills as you go, which it takes a pretty big RP out of the RPG.
Right.
You've got a much bigger inventory, so picking up loot seems like much more of a focus this time, and that's kind of backed up by the fact they have a real money auction house now.
Sounds like they want a whole lot of the World of Warcraft money generating capability in this.
I mean, it's been a while, and I think they've figured out what makes money and what keeps people interested.
Right.
It's
searching for crap.
Yes, that's it. It's like I'd say that they've kind of done a Breaking Bad here, right, and they figured out how to make a much more potent form of meth. It's hard to say if it's going to be as addictive as Diablo 2 was, and if people are still going to be playing it in 12 years. But it's definitely streamlined. There's kind of I was playing it, and I'm just sitting there, click, 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 and someone walked up, and I'm like, it's like Epic Farmville.
Right.
You're clicking on stuff and picking it up, and it's still fun. It's still enjoyable. But of course, the server issues are the immediate present
okay, so
problem.
Let's talk about BattleNet, or I'm going to call it the BattleNet mess.
Right.
So you have to be online to play Diablo 3. No internet, no gameplay, as a whole lot of people have discovered this week.
Yeah. The problem with that is they want to have, it's the always-on DRM to prevent piracy and also to stop cheaters, I guess, because they've got real money on the table here. However, there are a great deal of people who want to play this single player. They're not in it for it's not an MMO. It's not WoW. Mm-hmm. There's no reason that should be a required thing 100%. And for a game that people have been waiting for 12 years, to have everyone line up with their games and preload them and pre-install them and just count down to midnight and then sign on and just
try to sign on again.
Yeah.
And then try to sign on again.
Yeah. I got on a few times yesterday. I got on briefly for about an hour, and then I got a little warning in the sort of chat window. It said the servers will be shutting down in 15 minutes, and I was like, well, okay.
So you got 15 minutes.
It actually reminded me a lot of Diablo 2 because when that was out, I was in like 8th grade and playing it at my friend's house, and my mom would have to come pick me up, and I'd be like, oh, I better finish this quest, and then I have to go home.
Well, it's so funny, right? Because even Penny Arcade was like, it's stupid. They're timing the launch of this. There's 7 gigabytes of stuff on my machine, and I can't install it until like Monday. And so we're going to figure out, can we install it? So now we can install it, but they're not going to turn on the servers until they release it in brick and mortar in the box. And so they could have staged this out, online purchases, and instead everybody dogpiles it. They take down the servers. Do you think, think in 2 weeks anybody's going to remember this? Will they be beyond this and into the whole?
It's really tough to say. I mean, gamers are very
unforgiving.
What's a nice way of saying
brutal,
emotionally stunted?
Vicious.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, it's obviously people are outraged, but it might die down in 2 days when the servers are up and running smoothly. But again, just put it this way. It's been 12 years. It could have been Duke Nukem Forever.
Okay.
It is obviously not Duke Nukem Forever. It's a fun game. It's a good game. I mean, there are going to be nitpicks no matter what.
Right. Is it worth the money? Bottom line, would you be happy paying your money for Diablo 3 right now?
Yeah, I'd say so. One thing that I will give it, the online matchmaking, just drop in, drop out kind of co-op, is so streamlined compared to Diablo 2. Right. It is like having iChat, except there's monsters in it that you can kill and get swords and gold from them.
So basically, you invite somebody to a party, you go out and kill things. It's perfect.
Yeah, you have friend requests, and then you can go fight stuff. It's fun.
One of the things we were talking about before is you seem like they had one foot and we have to be really nostalgic for the Diablo 2 people, and we have to do all of the stuff we know gamers actually like today if, they weren't raised on Diablo 2. Did they mess that up? Is it just too much of a compromise?
It really depends on the gamer. There are different generations who appreciate the older Diablo games, and I mean, I've said a few times that it's a dad game. I mean, you have friends your age who play this, correct?
Yes.
It's a old
Ironically,
school
all of my friends who play this are under 30.
No, there you go. I mean, I've got friends younger than me who play it, and I'm like, how old were you when the other ones came out? How did you get into this? But they're dealing with hype and they're dealing with nostalgia, and in very high quantities for both, and that's kind of a perfect storm of what could be a disaster. Right. I think they really dropped the ball with the server thing, but it's not the end of the world. It's still a good game. It's still there. I'd say it's worth it. It's one of the things that Diablo 2 had was replayability. You can play it a million times, and you can play with friends. And this time, if you play it too much, you can actually, maybe make some money. You can sell fancy swords.
It is really like World of Warcraft. Max.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Where do we find Rev3 Games?
YouTube.com/Rev3 Games or Revision3.com/games.
Is it all Max Payne and Diablo 3 this week?
I really hope not. I hope there's something else in there. I'm just excited to talk about something else next week.
Are you just done with? Because you've been playing both games pretty much nonstop. Well, okay, you've been playing Max Payne pretty much nonstop since Monday.
I haven't touched Max Payne.
Really?
That's been Tara and Anthony. They've been playing that. I'm dying to play that. I get to play that in 2 weeks when I have a free day to play video games by myself, and I'm really excited because I won't be having to review it. I can just play it for fun, which is the weird flip side of doing this for a living.
Ladies and gentlemen, be careful what you wish for. You could be a game tester. Rev3 Games is a good place to go to get the latest game information. Right now, let's take a moment to thank one of our sponsors. Don't die stupid. Listen, people, it's an effort to save more lives on America's roadways. State and local law enforcement are going to be out in force nationwide May 21st to June 3rd, 2012, teaming up to crack down on motorists who are not buckling up. Put your seatbelt on. Seatbelt use saves thousands of lives across America every year. In 2009 alone, seatbelts saved an estimated 12,713 lives nationwide. Motorists are 75% less likely to be killed in a rollover crash if they're buckled up. Look, people, you should buckle up every time you go out, both day and night. Law enforcement agencies across the country are prepared to ticket anyone not buckled up. No warnings, no excuses. People, we want you here watching the show next week. Click it or ticket.